Christian Pulisic, aka Captain America, aka the LeBron James of Soccer, is the most expensive, most influential, and arguably the most talented American footballer to ever grace the game. But you know what's interesting? Everyone focuses on his club success. The rise at Borussia Dortmund, the Champions League with Chelsea, and the stellar move to the best club in Italy, but many overlook his undeniable role in American football as a whole. We'll talk about that in a minute, but first, let's look at his childhood, starting with his parents. Did you know that he had no choice about what he wanted to do for a living? I mean, football actually ran through his veins, because his mom Kelly and dad Mark Pulisic were also football players, or soccer players, whatever you want to call it, at George Mason University, and his dad was also a professional indoor player for the Harrisburg Heat in the 1990s. And then, a few years after his career ended, Christian Pulisic was born on the 18th of September 1998 in Hershey, Pennsylvania. As we said, his life was predestined from a very young age, and his parents even saying that they saw athleticism in him when Christian was just 2 years old. Of course, like any little kid, he suffered from the competition of other motivated peers, but his parents were always super supportive and never pushed him to play football, just to keep the craft in the family. With Luis Figo as his biggest footballing idol, Christian's youth career began close to home at PA Classics, a small regional club where his natural ability and relentless work ethic set him apart. But Pulisic's story took a big turn when his mother's teaching exchange program moved the family to England for around a year. And as crazy as it sounds, he had a taste of Chelsea's greatness long before he ever thought about joining the club. Or, okay, greatness is probably a bit of an exaggeration, considering this happened in the summer of 2010, before Chelsea had become a European powerhouse. But yeah, he did a 5-day trial at Cobham, and it was that moment when he truly realised that football was what he wanted to do for a living. Isn't it crazy that some 10 years later, he went on to that same place, became the most expensive American footballer of all time, and even won the most coveted club award? But before we get there, here we have some more curious facts surrounding Pulisic's rise. After returning from England, he continued to play and develop in the PA Classic Academy, patiently waiting for that one chance. And, well, that opportunity arrived at his door in the form of Borussia Dortmund. Scouts for the German Giants had been watching him closely at club and international level, and offered him a move to Germany when he was just 16 years old. Within a year, in January 2016, he made his first team debut in the Bundesliga, a league in which only a few Americans played before him. Not succeeded, but played, and to this day, Pulisic can truly be described as the only American to have made a deep impact in the German league. And he was the one who started a huge wave of talented Americans going there. Names like Tyler Adams, like Weston McKennie, Giovanni Reina. Probably the only American the fans were familiar with was the defender John Brooks, who made about 100 appearances for Hertha Berlin before Pulisic moved to Dortmund. But you can see the difference between the clubs here, right? Christian was generational. Even at that tender age, it was clear to everyone that the USA had never produced a footballer of such talent. No Clint Dempsey, no Landon Donovan, no Brad Friedel. Pulisic was different. And from today's point of view, how do you rank him alongside those American stars, given that he's not even halfway through his career yet? Now, here is another interesting fact for you, told by Pulisic himself, describing his fascinating commitment.
What'd you make it home for?
I made it home for my senior prom. The next morning early, flew back to Kansas City to play for the national team, and I scored my first international goal.
Yes, travelling from Dortmund to Pennsylvania and then to Kansas in a matter of hours just to play a game for your national team, that dedication was what set Pulisic apart from 99% of American footballers before him. Yes, that kind of commitment may be the norm in Europe, but listen guys, in Europe, football is a culture. Football is a way of life. If you're a European, especially coming from England or Spain or Germany for example, these actions, even at this young age, don't make much of an impression. But when you're talking about an 18-year-old boy from a country where European football is somehow a distant, even unknown sport, well, that's where the commitment creates admiration. And if we leave aside the aforementioned Dempsey, Donovan and Friedel, who were really the first Americans to stand out, Christian Pulisic was the man who was destined to make the USA a country on a par with the biggest footballing nations on the map. And as time had gone on, the Americans have really become a team that has worked hard to make their formation one of the best in the world. Yes, the women have always been highly regarded, with the likes of Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan, and of course the legendary Mia Hamm. But the men have remained largely under the radar, at least until Pulisic came along. But what happened to him at Signal Iduna Park? Overall, he played 4 seasons before leaving in 2019. He made 127 appearances for the club, scoring 19 goals and providing 26 assists. His best season came in 2016-17 when he played a total of 43 games in all competitions, scoring 5 and assisting 9 goals at the age of 18. He also won the German Cup that year. His performances and rapid rise to prominence caught the eye of a number of European giants, but Chelsea's desire to have him was unrivaled. €65 million was the fee Roman Abramovich was prepared to pay to have Pulisic in blue. When it comes to his display in those 4 seasons at Stamford Bridge, many will argue whether that investment paid off. I mean, he was electrifying, flying up and down the pitch with his pace. Oh, and we all remember his lockdown period in 2020. After the Premier League resumed in June following the COVID-19 pandemic, the boy literally carried Chelsea on his back to a top 4 finish in the Prem and an FA Cup final in which he also scored but lost 2-1 to Arsenal. In total, Pulisic netted 5 and assisted 2 goals in those 11 games after the lockdown, including against Aston Villa, Man City, Liverpool and Arsenal. So yes, his lockdown was fabulous. He really made Chelsea fans see a reincarnated Eden Hazard at Stamford Bridge. That's how good Pulisic was back then. But just as he was about to take his place among the Premier League elites, injuries began to creep in. Hamstring problems and recurring knocks disrupted his rhythm, and while he played a key role in Chelsea's Champions League triumph in 2020-21, most notably scoring against Real Madrid in the semi-final, his inconsistency made him a frustrating figure for fans and managers alike. Yes, you know how quickly fans' opinions change. One day you're idolised, the next you're booed loudly for poor performances. In addition, the likes of Mason Mount, Kai Havertz and Timo Werner joined the team after Pulisic's arrival, completely breaking his rhythm. But his downfall came after the massive takeover at the club. In 2022, Roman Abramovich left and Todd Bowley's consortium arrived at Stamford Bridge to usher in a new era at Chelsea. Yes, they eventually did, apparently, judging by their recent performances. You can check out one of our recent videos on the topic, but it was achieved at great cost. A whole host of Chelsea players once dubbed stars at Stamford Bridge left the club, and for better or worse, Pulisic was one of them after a disastrous 2022-23 season in which he scored just 1 goal in 30 appearances. At the age of 26, many wondered if big-time football had left him. But within weeks, Christian gave his eloquent answer. Enter AC Milan. A team with a huge history, or actually, the team with the shiniest history of any Italian club. San Siro, Milan, Serie A. Everything was different for Pulisic, but as we said, his answer spoke for itself. This was the goal he scored on his debut. And this, the one he scored on his home debut. Milan fans fell in love with his pace, his shot striking, his positioning, and his close control dribbling. A mesmerising talent who defied the odds and proved that sometimes you can still be good at your job. You just need a different environment to show your true potential. By the end of the season, Pulisic had scored 10 more goals and laid on 8 assists to finish 3rd in Serie A on contributions, behind only Lautaro Martinez, Paulo Dybala, and teammate Olivier Giroud. Yes, he even left star man Rafael Leao behind. But there were 2 things that mattered. Firstly, he proved instrumental in Milan's second league finish, reminding himself that he's still one of the very hot attacking players in all of Europe, no matter how criminally underrated he is. And the second thing was that 2023-24, his 9th season in professional football, proved to be the best individual season yet, with 26 appearances in all competitions. As for 2024-25, he started even stronger, contributing 11 goals or assists in the first 14 games of the season, including games against Liverpool, Real Madrid, and that vital goal against Inter in September. He is currently injured until mid-January, but the potential to improve on his last season is huge as he now has become an even bigger figure for Milan. Now, let's uncover Pulisic's impact on football in America. Well, if you follow it closely, you've probably noticed how drastically the game has changed for America since Pulisic became a household name. This is not to say that he is the big reason, but he's certainly been a factor. Pulisic has become the talisman of the national team, and expectations are high ahead of the 2026 World Cup, where the USA will be one of the hosts. Pulisic's arrival has been followed by the emergence of other talented players such as Timothy Weah, Anthony Robinson, Serginho Dest, Yunus Musa, Brandon Aronson, and the aforementioned McKennie and Adams. All of these players play, or have played, in the top 5 European leagues in the last 2 years. Most importantly, they're all expected to form the backbone of the 2026 squad, with Pulisic as the leader and talisman behind them all. Now, let's end the video slowly with two intriguing questions. First, where do you see the US team finishing in the World Cup? And the second, a little more controversial, but still, do you see Pulisic taking over from Rafael Leao as the leading man in 2024-25, especially with all the rumours of Leao leaving in the summer? Let us know down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to help us on the journey to 1K subscribers. Thank you for watching, and until next time.